what
But you don't have to go through your,
Count
you don't have to go
miles
through
and
your
stuff in the
mail.
church, so I never did
Just double click
school
on
here,
that.
but that would
Okay.
be. You
Are
could.
you gonna get me back to where I was?
Allow it, come and check out a car, drive down, so you can save it.
One,
there
two,
on your own. Yeah,
February.
It's good to know.
I'm pretty sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's still in play.
Yeah, my intent was to go down there, and I realized it was a payroll week. Oh, next month. I didn't have the meeting last month for the weather, so there's a lot. Maybe. Do they usually go now?
So they might be able to drag it out somehow.
Hi, Lord.
Except it's 79 page brochure.
I know.
Well, that's something.
Yeah. And then next month, it's not a payroll week, it's on, and I'll go project.
Call meeting to order. You have an agenda before you. Are there any additions or questions or motion to adopt?
I would move to adopt.
Motion and second, all those in favor? No patrons, so we have to check on an executive session. Keep your hands off my Dr. Pepper.
I may steal it.
Okay.
You're supposed to keep it
Serious.
stocked up.
Serious at this
He
time.
always hates Dr. Pepper. He's
Nope. Well, let's move on the consensus items. Take a look at those. Memory issue question, what our 191,000 is on capital outlay? What?
The roofing project,
Okay.
the elementary roofing project.
Oh, the roofing, okay. See, no, you're so good out of my left ear, that's why I need to be in that seat over there. Yeah, I really have no memory about what gifts and grants are and why we would have an encumbrance on that. I guess I've never noticed that category before.
So that's where we put any grants we get.
Okay,
So like all the Patterson money, it's also
Any
is a tiny,
donations?
it's a tiny house money in there.
No.
Now we put that in the student materials, didn't we? Okay.
Any donations we get throughout the school year, unless it's specified for something other than the scoreboard donations are in there, and then we have a balance in there. So
Okay.
it's a lot of different things.
and so we still owe 17,000 on,
And it's stuff that we've bought. So like with the Patterson grant, part of the Patterson grant was professional development, and we paid some of those bills. Part of the Patterson grant was CTE, so the tools and stuff that we bought for the BOE building has come out of that.
I just worry about the encumbrance we have at the moment.
Part of it is the tools,
Okay,
Part of it is a lot of it is the stuff for the CTE. A little bit for the professional development.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I move that we accept these consensus items as written.
I have a motion and second to accept consensus items. All those in favor? Very good. Moving on, special ed report. Yeah, Shelby hadn't had a chance to be there.
Yep,
Yep.
I go tomorrow to the meeting at 10 o'clock.
Okay,
Nothing to report.
thank you. And Tom?
I see there's some information in our packet here that new bills that are currently being submitted at the House. So I'm sure Derek will explain those.
So there hasn't been a lot of movement as far as approval of things yet, just a lot of talk.
Any more questions? If not, we'll move on then, please, to Mr. Flax.
Okay, I got a few things to go over with you here tonight. First thing is, we're, I guess, in the process, or we are in the process of looking at different math textbook versions and options for high school math. We're starting, that process this year. Both Mr. Schubert and Mr. Armady right now are going to be kind of in the sampling, keep taking like the series and maybe try and teach a few lessons out of it and whatnot. And they're going in there. I guess my goal to them is to use this month here in February, maybe up until spring break, to do the experimental with the different versions they have, the samples that we've received, and then narrow it down to a selection to hopefully come to you in April for approval of a high school math series for textbook adoption. And I don't know, do we meet before spring break or after spring break?
Before.
We are before spring break. Maybe I could have a little bit of narrowed down version by then from the two gentlemen there teaching the math, high school math, and maybe give you a little bit of a sampling of yourself there in March before we have something to come to you in April. Is what we're looking at there. But anyway, looking at obviously algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, some sort of upper level calculus, trig, advanced level, subject area 2, and then also I want to look at potentially I don't know if it's best to use it, but personal use. Maybe something that's not necessarily in the realm of a geometry or algebra series, but common usage, adult. I don't know exactly, possibly.
Personal finance.
Personal
math.
finance,
What's
yeah.
that?
Like with personal finance.
Like
not
personal
just-
finance, yeah, something to that effect, yeah, something kind of goes along in that realm. Even though we really don't have a set class currently of that, but we can maybe, I mean, if they like the algebra, geometry, algebra 2 version of it, I would like to think that we could get that same company with the subject in that. But anyway, so that's coming. And like I say, hopefully I can have some information to share with you in the March meeting on maybe directions they're leaning. Like I said, they're trying to hopefully use this month of February to experiment with some of those samples that we have. And none of those samples are student samples. I mean, they get a student book. They don't get like 15 student books for the students to sample. So it'll just be what as the teacher side. Which brings me to this part also. it's not up for any type of adoption this year. We're not really looking at anything, but I do want to look science related in the not too distant future. And I say this, we've had enough different biology teachers over the last 5 years. We had a digital biology textbook that we used not that long ago. And then when Mr. Remig was his first year, he had it, he used it, didn't really utilize it much, and so we didn't renew it. Of course, he left. Mr. Saxon came in without a true textbook for high school biology. It was strong resources from different formats and stuff like that. Of course, now since we went with the Elevate K-12 to finish out the school year, we're using obviously their curriculum that they provide through the Elevate on that online digital format. But just, I guess, a little bit of science background just makes me think that we need to, as we obviously fill that position for next year, need to look at probably getting them some good resources. And like I said, we went with that digital version, thinking it was going to be cutting art. We did that with biology. We did that with U.S. history or government at one time, and not cutting art. I mean, it may be great, maybe the newest technology, but it doesn't. Didn't use
What
it.
company is
Kids
that?
didn't use it. I mean, it's just, they would maybe use it in class, but they really wouldn't utilize a textbook. So I do think we need to go back to paper hardbound textbook on that. So something to look at there. Like I say, I know we did the Savas with the ELA curriculum there, got math K through 8. We're gonna get the math 9 through 12 figured out this spring for next year. But I guess I always want to plant that seed that we need to, and if we do the science, then we need to probably look through at least down to 7th grade, if not maybe 6th grade on through or something like that. Just something to think about as we go forward with textbook adoptions on that. You have a couple documents, got them online for you in the file, but I think they've made a couple copies. One of them is a single page graduation requirements that we have titled. The other one's frequently asked questions about the new grad. I know those of you that have been on the board, Sheldon McKenna, obviously you haven't been maybe privy to this, but I visited with the task force that was created up in 2021, and they met and to really look at the state graduation requirements. The single page, I'll just take you through that. This is our draft. This is our local draft that we've taken from what the state is putting out for new graduation requirements. This is starting with the class of 2028, which is our current 8th graders. I bring this for you now. This is just information, nothing for approval, but to start seeing this, because as we go into the spring and summer, when we start doing course offerings handbook next month, and then other handbooks in the summer, we are going to need to look at this. I have been meeting with my building leadership team, which is the junior, senior high members of our district leadership team, and kind of presented them with what now we have the state, since we do have these now in copy, and we kind of looked at this and just to, I guess, sum it up really quick, there's not a lot of truly big changes. Just some wording and some, I guess, thought process of it. Obviously, the current graduation requirements for class of 25, 6, and 27 is what we have up there. That has not what we have in place there. And then, of course, the 8th grade class, the 28 class of 2028 going forth, and how that kind of changes. And there's truly not a ton of changes. What is different is, instead of science being separated, math being separated, they put them together in what they call STEM. And they also add a credit. Okay, so there's still 3 science, 3 math, 1 STEM. Okay, seven credits to meet the state. The difference though is it does specify what those science credits must be. Okay, it used to just include 3 units of natural science, as you see above. 1 must be in a lab science, which has been a biology. Now you do notice it does specify a physical, a biological, and earth space. Here's our dilemma. This is what I kind of put on my building leadership team. And we do have clearance because we did contact the state about this. We currently teach earth space science in 8th grade. We do not have an earth space science taught at the high school level. In correspondence with the state, 2 things basically, what I got from that correspondence through emails is award high school credit for an 8th grader, which is totally legal and totally a local decision. A local decision. Or obviously we need to change our format of this. Talking to Mr. Clausenbutcher, who's on the building leadership team, and the communication that we've had about it, I think one way that I'm not saying this is our true recommendation at this point, we're still discussing it, but our initial discussion was awarded at 8th grade, so it transcripts onto their high school transcript. That's what it basically means, you award credit. However, we would still have that local determination to require 3 high school credits to be earned at the high school level. So basically they will end up being 4 science classes transcript in 8th grade, the freshman physical science, sophomore biology, and then their junior and or senior year, that chemistry, environmental science, A&P, physics, whichever way they go. We would still want to, have that local option. So basically not change what we've been doing science wise. It wouldn't change, but because if we do need to move our earth space science, and then I guess one other option that the state did say is, and I don't know exactly how that is, you can blend it. But that means you're cutting something out. If you blend it with physical science, that physical science is pretty important for introduction to chemistry, introduction to physics that kids take later on in high school. But again, this is a draft, so that single sheet is a draft at this point, just letting you know that kind of what we're looking at there. You'll see the 0.5 units of financial literacy is a requirement, starting with the class of 2028. I believe for it to be the most relevant, it probably needs to be a senior level course. So it's most relevant to them as they're leaving Ness City High School, at least a junior level. I don't think it will be as beneficial if it's done freshman or sophomore year. And then also it's 0.5, so it's just a half a year. What do you have for the other half of a year? You have 0.5 credit per semester. Hopefully we'll have, I think it's on this other sheet, certifications for the financial literacy. Our conversation that, like I said, this is the building leadership team, our conversation is, do we truly wait for the class of 2028? Or do we make it a standard sooner with current classes that are in high school? That's the other question that I will pose to you that you guys as a board can think about, and we'll talk more about it as faculty members. Like I say, we've been teaching the financial literacy components that we've been asked to do from KSDE through our activity period, our Eagle Hour. We're doing it like this semester, this 9 weeks right now, we're doing their 9 weeks every Wednesday as a financial literacy, 7 through 12. They do some form, and we're using this EverFi program, which is granted free program that can help do this. So it's never been a transcript class. Obviously, with the new graduation requirements, it will need to be a class transcript. Like I said, we've been teaching the components of it, but it's going to need to be a taught within the coursework of a student's high school career at some point.
Will it have to be a math teacher or can it be like home ec or something
Say it
like
again,
that?
I'm sorry.
Will it have to be a math teacher that teaches it or can it be like?
No,
home ec or
Actually,
something
math
like
is
that?
the one that can't teach it,
The math
which makes
teacher's
no
not-
sense to me.
Yes, how about that? Let me find this. I have it, it's on that 5-page one. I think it is that, it's on that frequently asked questions. There you go, financial literacy is on the bottom of page 3. Financial literacy course provides students with understanding of practical skills involved in making and applying sound financial decisions. Course emphasizes earning income, spending, saving, investing, managing credit, managing risk. Qualified teachers will be family consumer science, general business ed composition, business economics, business finance, economics, history and government, social studies comp with verified financial literacy training. That'll be who is licensed to teach that course. So it's honestly put more in a social science or social studies realm. Something to think about. Like, as we, I know we talked about this a while ago, maybe a year ago, when they were doing the task force was going through that. And then the other parts of the graduation requirements, the new requirements, is what they call the post-secondary assets. There's a list of them down there on that single sheet. I really don't think that's going to be a huge hurdle or an addition of what we need to put in for our kids. It just needs to be transcripts. It needs to go on their official high school transcript. And I say that because if you look, there's a lot of things, and they're just not school things. You see, they're also community-based things. Apprenticeships, community service, hours of 40 or more. There's the word, the syllabi literacy. That's something we've talked about. We haven't really ever been able to put it in place for us. You can see some of the assessment scores, whether we're talking state assessment or ACT composite, taking 9+ college hours. A lot of our kids are getting that. The work keys, we started giving all of our juniors that work keys assessment at the beginning of the year. That would obviously give some personal meaning for the students taking that work keys. ASVAB, you can see the Eagle Scout, Gold Scout for Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Completing the Board of Regents curriculum. We got a lot of students that strive for that anyway. The 2 or more high school athletics or activities. That's probably the one that a majority of our kids truly get. 90% attendance, high school attendance rate. So that could be maybe an emphasis for increasing that attendance. Senior project, if we put a senior project together or exit interview or something, those would be different things that we could do for post-secondary assets.
So in their thinking on that, is that all this needs to be done their senior year? Because if they compete in 2 sporting activities 9 through 12, that's not very many.
That would be through high school career.
Wow. So
I would
some of
think,
these are a
yeah.
lot easier than
Because
others.
all post-secondary assets are just
Okay.
stuff that needs to be done through. The challenging part of the post-secondary assets that I see is myself or the counselor or
Getting it turned in,
secretary
yeah.
managing everything.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Your son comes to us with certification of an Eagle Scout.
Mhm.
That's great. That's a post-secondary asset. So we'll put it on the transcript. But right now the transcript's pretty easy. We save grades in Power School. We print the transcript. When it's just all grade based. So now we're talking about things outside of necessarily the academic realm that will have to be part of a post-secondary or their high school transcript, which is part of their graduation requirement. So those are some things and we have time. Like I say, this is the class of 2028, but at the same time, we don't just want to kick the can down the road. I mean, I want to have this in place when you start approving these course offerings books, these handbooks and stuff like that. So we'll want to have these discussions. And this is just the formula or the page that Tanya's been working on. So we have it on one single, hey, what does it take to be considered a sophomore? That, but like I say, I think right now the biggest questions that we're probably going to come to you with recommendations, once we get solid recommendations, and we don't, I'm just saying this has been discussion locally. We have just started these discussions in the last month as a building leadership team, and I want to have these more discussions with the whole faculty. Science alignment. Do we need to change everything on the order we're doing? I don't think my current science teacher is necessarily in favor of that. I think he likes where things are being taught. It's good for when they take the state assessment as a junior. They've had this stuff in the years prior. I mean, things that we get measured. But I'm not saying we're necessarily going to do that, but it would take something that we don't or haven't done since I've been here, which I guess is 16 or 17 years, and that is awarding credit, high school credit to a junior high for the earth space science. Because if we do need to change that and make that a high school level course, this is what I fear will happen. We go physical science, we go biology, we go earth space science. We will not have kids then take chemistry. We won't have kids taking A&P. We won't have kids taking environmental science. They'll be done with their credits for graduation. And I don't want to, I mean, I still think we'd have, but also that puts a lot of science trying to get done. Those kids that really want to take physics by their senior year, they're already got to double up in science 1 year. This is doubling up now 2 years of high school. Potentially, I mean, if we move that earth space science. So there's some things that, to think about, but that's that. I thought this was ironic. The document just came out today. This frequently asked questions. It was just, but I thought there were some good questions and answers that maybe I learned from just reading through it that I provided, want to provide for you. Also notice the FAFSA, the federal student aid, right? They end up backing off and not making it mandatory for all students to complete the FAFSA, but they have to opt out of not completing it for a graduation requirement. The very bottom of that first page, that frequently, that was one of the things that they were really had as a graduation requirement is every student, every family must complete the FAFSA, and that's, I don't know how us as a school could force that. We try to provide training and try to provide a FAFSA specialist to come out to work with senior parents and stuff like that when that window opens, but I don't know. Those are some things that to think about, talk about. So
Tom, I just need an update on the abbreviations here for 2028, the CTE course. What does that stand for?
CTE course, what on that STEM elective?
Yeah.
Okay, that means they can take another math or another science or a application level CTE course. When we have those approved pathways, those CTE pathways, we have like several different ag pathways. We have the construction pathway, we have the health science pathway, we have the teacher training. If they take an application, which is the highest level,
Okay.
and that one of those programs, that can count for that 7th STEM.
And what is the IPS stand?
Individual plan of study. Now, this is something too, and actually that should be 7 units of other choices, not 8. So like I said, that's already a draft. That's, I noticed there's already one mistake we had. That adds up to 29 credits. We got it set up 28, which is our current grad requirements. All right. The student's IPS, which their individual plan of study, which every student must have, and we need to be better at. Yet it's a work in progress. We need to get student buy-in to help us get better at the same time, and we need to have all teacher buy-in on it too. I'll say that. Kind of not trying to throw teachers on the bus or anything like that, but we need to get. I know we need to do the IPS for more fidelity, but basically 4.5 units of IPS choices. Now, that was my concern. I go back to my kids. I'll use my daughter. She was bound and determined. She was musical. there is no CTE pathway for music or bands. Not a such thing. She wanted 4 years of vocals, she wanted 4 years of band. She didn't have time to take ProAg or health science or, hey, here she is a pharmaceuticals or pharmacist. I know she didn't have a chance because she wanted to do that. And we got clarification on that, even though their IPS choice might be looking at a health science. If they have that interest and the interest is on the student's IPS, individual plan of study, it meets that 4.5 credit. So I really don't think that truly changes a whole lot of our elective credits.
Okay.
On what that looks like, besides the fact what it looks like. And just secretarial on our end in the office on how we gotta show it on the kids' transcripts.
Okay, another quick question.
Sure.
What's the typical ninth grade science class that they take
Ninth grade
now?
science
Yeah,
is physical science.
is physical science.
10th grade science is biology.
Okay.
And then usually their junior year is when they start making choices. Do I want to be more college bound and go the chemistry, physics route, A and P? Those three. Do I want to get that third one and go more of the environmental science or one of the ag sciences to get that third? And not that that ties them into either being college bound or not, but so. Any other questions on that? Obviously, like this is just informational to put the thought in your head. And then, like I say, I plan to visit with staff about this more in depth. I mean, we are going to go ahead and get started with pre-enrollment with some of our students. We've actually starting to have those general meetings with, junior class, sophomore class. We'll have it, and then when we get down to the 8th grade, we'll visit with the 8th graders about what the new state is. Like I say, I think one of the biggest things that I want to probably ask of this board, potentially, I'm not 100% convinced yet. I do think I want to put the financial literacy class in place before the class of 2028. Like I say, we've been doing the components of what makes that class up during their activity period, but it's not a graded class on itself. It's just activities that we're doing during their Eagle Hour. Eagle Hour is graded, but it's not transcript as financial literacy. I don't know. I'm curious what my staff says before I give you my personal opinion, but I kind of am leaning to why wait till 2028. Not that, and maybe we make it as an elective credit first, since I don't want to move the goalpost, while we're driving down the field, but maybe, I see the importance of it. I really do. I see the importance of it. All right, any questions about that? All right, update I want to bring up on State Scholars Bowl. We competed. Team went to Frankfurt High School Saturday. It was Friday night, and then the competition was all day noon on Saturday. I went up there and watched it. Cheered them on. Can't go cheer, I know, but support them anyway from the classroom. Holy cow, those kids are amazing. When I say those kids, I mean all those kids from all 12 schools are amazing. But ours are, and ours definitely fit, and they competed and took third in their pool, so they advanced out of the pool, top 3 in each of the 16 pools, and they go to a 16 round robin championship format, and we ended up in a 3-way tie for third. Took 5th on a tiebreaker. But this is how close those 6 teams were. State champion team was Rock Hills Mankato. They were 4-1. Second place team was Hodgman County, Jetmore. They went 3-2. And then the other 4 of us, which was us, Little River, Satana, and Elkhart, all went 2-3. we were 2-2 going into our last match with Elkhart, who was 1-3 at the time. They beat us. Little technicality, maybe, I don't know. I thought we had a right answer, but Chris Luciano didn't give the adjective that, I can't remember what the question was, but his answer, it was like the golden apple, he just said the apple or something like that. It was, I don't know, guess what it needed to be, I'm not sure. But anyway, we beat Elkhart, we're second in state, because we beat Hodgman head to head, we took second. So we would have had to head, we could have got to 3-2. It was that close to bring home. Did a good job, and all 5 of them boys get to come back. But it was kudos to those 5 kids. Chris Luciano, Jorge Esparza, 2 juniors, sophomore Wyatt Sutton, and 2 freshmen, Thane Brenner, Hunter Stensel were the five kids. And of course, kudos to Glenn Burnback on the coaching. It was truly, I guess I'm gonna throw an old sport analogy as just an old ball coach watching them. The strategy our boys have. They sat in the same chair. He's looking at Jorge. He's chair 5, Jorge. I mean, he's the captain in the middle, and you just see the conversation, because they talk amongst each other when they ask a question, before you buzz in or whatnot. And that was really cool to see. I wish I could video devices, so I had to go out in the hallway and update Facebook real quick and turn my phone off and go in and watch the next round and keep going back and forth. But they did a heck of a job, and well commend them.
Thanks for doing that, because that was fun.
What's that?
That was fun to see their,
Yeah.
like, oh, they won. Okay, now they,
Yeah.
and then, oh, no, they lost. And then, oh, they won.
It was just, and then they did. They went almost win-loss all night. I mean, we won our first match. We lost 2 in a row, won our last 2 in pools, finished 3-2. And we won our first one of championship. Lost 2, won, and then lost. That's how it ended up going, is how they ended up. But anyway, our webpage updates, I'm going to draw this out because we're slowly, I say we, as I shouldn't say that, Mrs. Candy Muse is taking the ownership of wanting to do some updated information on our webpage. Keeping our webpage updated has not been something I've been good at. I've been horrible at it. Anyway, she has asked, I went in and gave her the permissions on our Sox webpage, and she's slowly getting some updated information on our school webpage, which I think will be a great communication. To try to get communication, we'll try to start highlighting our webpage. It's not the most user-friendly, or at least I don't think it is. That's probably one reason why I haven't done a good job of updating it. But I just want to commend Candy for taking on just an additional thing. And it just reminds me of how many times we have teachers that will step up and will do stuff unasked just because they want to do that. And this is just the latest one. It's fresh in my mind. I just bring that up and just to commend them on that, but also to let you know that you start looking for, I guess, fresh content on our webpage as we go through here. She's, like I say, just kind of taking that matter on a little bit. And then the last thing I want to bring to you is, I guess, your thoughts as a board going through, and I know this is one of my longest principal's report. I apologize for that. But topic of pocket knives in school, students. All right, this and just to kind of give you the narrative of what happens, I'm not naive to know we're in a rural area, and most of the time I don't even think you've ever seen it. I mean, if I truly maybe stared at somebody in their pocket, I could maybe tell if they had one in their pocket or not. In our parent-student handbook, we actually do not have a direct sentence or anything in there that says pocket knives are not allowed in school or anything like that. We have the updated language from KESB, and I called KESB today to make sure, and she looked. And what's in our, that's from our board policy that's online on our webpage, JCDBB. And basically it just gives you the definition of weapons. And the only thing with a knife that can constitute a weapon by law or by policy, which would be by statute, any knife commonly referred to as a switchblade, which has a blade that opens automatically by hand pressure applied to a button, spring, or other device in the handle of the knife, or any knife having a blade that can open or fall or is ejected in possession by the force of gravity or by an outward, downward, or centrifugal thrust or movement. That's the definition of a knife as weapon. And really, that's the only thing that I found in our handbook about this. I bring this up because the other day, on Friday, had obviously another world session there, a student, a young junior high student who showed off his pocket knife to one of his friends that he had. Of course, others witnessed it. Word got around. I called him in the office and I said, "Hey, why don't you leave that with me?" No threat, no anything like that. It was just showing off. Of course, I did that. Another one of his classmates had one. "Hey, why don't you bring your?" So I had him, and then I'm thinking, and I know better. I probably got 15, 20, 25 high school boys that carry pocket knives, I bet, daily. If not, there might be several girls. I don't know. As a board directed to me, to my knowledge, we don't have anything in there. You guys probably have pocket knives. Some of you do, huh? What?
Go
The
ahead.
attorney that I talked to today said we have the right to obviously put it in our handbook of items not allowed at school or directed. There's not statute that says no knives are allowed in the school. Obviously, unless it's a switchblade or one of those called butterfly knife.
Automatic knives,
Automatic, something's automatic.
and they are legal in the state of Kansas.
They are.
So that
Yes,
the current policy, even through KSAB, is out of date.
it
because
is.
Switchblades and what is commonly referred to as butterfly knife are legal in Kansas. What's
Yes.
not legal is a knife that propels the blade. So if you push a button, it actually shoots the blade out of the handle, leaves the handle more like a gun, and then a gravity knife. So if you point it down, the blade comes out, which I don't know what the difference between that and a switchblade is, but the policy in itself, even through KSAB, is out of date because they have changed the laws with the switchblades and butterfly knives. Depending on where you look, you can find information that says knives are not allowed on school property, but conversation with KSAB, they don't know anything about a specific statute that says that. I think Tom just needs, are we okay with our kids having pocket knives? Or do we need to put together a policy for you guys to approve and tell them to keep their knives in their vehicles?
I'll be honest with you, for 16, 17 years, I guess, I know I've confiscated a million knives over the years. I honestly probably haven't been actively looking for them. Obviously, this came up. Junior high kids come to me like, and I'm like, it's caused enough, a little bit of commotion. I confiscated. My first initial thought was, before actually coming to talking to you, was I was going to generate an email to send all parents and students. I don't know of a reason why you would need a knife at school. For your own possession. And I would prefer that they would stay away, but at the same time, and they haven't been an issue. I did ask these junior high students, no, keep them away. It's not, you don't have a use for them here. And I do believe it just, put them in their pocket, they go. And I realize that they got chores before school or after school or something like that. They may have, I, you know, I don't know. 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 I don't know, it just, before. I just thought I'd get clarification.
Because of Western Fuel, there's probably, I don't know, 50 automatic knives for sale, but you have to be 18 to buy one.
Yeah.
But
And at the least, what I want to do is I want to clarify that if you got an automatic knife.
I-
That needs to,
I usually have one on me, but I didn't tonight because I couldn't find it.
I mean,
It just,
the push button one.
yeah, I've got several. But there's no, you could hold it against your hand here and there's no force against it. Just enough force to stick the blade out and lock is all. And then it retracts too. And there's different qualities too. Different sizes, of course, too. But they're for sale everywhere.
I mean, I mean, it's whatever. I just wanted,
Hard from the,
before I started doing one thing or another, I just clarification on.
hard from the Kansas thing to whatever they got there, I would think what you did. You know, people got them in their pockets, that's no thing. If it becomes a distraction, you deal with it.
Exactly.
They're showing it around.
And if you tell them they can't wear it, they're probably just going to stick it in their pocket anyway.
I think most of them probably do, and that's probably why I don't.
Most of them have it, but on a belt,
Or they may have a clip that.
clip there, yeah.
But I wouldn't see a
That's kind
need
of my
for,
last.
I wouldn't see a need for policy against pocket knives being carried around, but as far as being a distraction,
Unless it becomes an issue.
Well, obviously, any instrument. You know, will make a threat to you. Would be then considered a weapon. Driver could be whatever. I mean, I know that. I mean, obviously, if they try to strike somebody with something or I mean, anything like that, but.
So you ever caught anybody with a baton? About this long, you snap it and it comes out about this long.
I have not seen one of those. I don't know. I hope not now.
maybe you could give a few more suggestions, Tom.
You want me to bring my inventory next month?
That's good. I wasn't.
I saw Home
Just a
Depot was
question
selling swords. Do you have one of those?
Of course.
Of course.
Samurai?
You know, tell my girls have pocket knives because they do chores. I guess as a parent, I've never thought to be like, hey, do you have that pocket knife in your pocket before they leave for school in the morning?
I guess that's my biggest question to myself is. What is the use that you would need it for at school? Can it not stay in your vehicle? Can it not? That's my first initial thought. That's what I was going to do. I thought, you know what, before I did that, I wanted to pose.
Which I don't think there's, I mean, I think you handled it fine, but I've never checked my kids' pockets to see if their pocket knife is in their pocket before they go to school. Guess I never thought about it before.
I don't know that it's been a problem. I don't know that you're going to stop it unless you start searching pockets. But I think it's something to have in the back of our mind just in case as we move through it too.
I'm surprised the school thing didn't have anything on length of blade.
Used to be, because
I thought there was a
the
6 inch
statute used
blade
to
length.
be, if it was X number of inches long, then it would constitute a weapon. It had to be under.
It couldn't be
X
wider
number.
than your hand. Excuse me, Judy.
So that used to be in the, yes, an old version of some kind, but I don't know where. That's it. My report.
That's what I'm thinking.
sorry.
A long blade, that would be a distraction. Yeah, hand that over.
There's not fools out of it. Have you seen?
Any other more questions for Mr. Flax?
We've got some that-
Mr. Reinhardt?
Our student is here. Do you want to do that real quick?
What's that? Oh, our students here? Okay, yep.
For the girls.
Say
Now,
10 minutes.
10?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Most second, all in favor? 10 minutes.
Yeah, those are,
Executive session for student.
You didn't buy it for?
No, I was afraid that-
Go ahead. It's automatic, you have to be 18 years old.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a, it's a habit. Yeah, it's a habit. Caesars, I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. That's one, two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you tell them. no,
I'm
they're
not
gonna
saying
say,
we shouldn't have some standards in place.
Right.
But
have the big
you
old
can
Bowie knife on your.
right, you can
Yeah.
only sit so much before.
But yeah, it's in our community. I mean, look how many kids do chores before or after school.
Maybe not now, but how many years ago do you have to go back to find a kid about a shop in their truck?
Exactly.
They've been out hunting.
Exactly. Like you said, if they're gonna find something to use if they want to find something. to use.
Right. If you're saying they can't have that, it's going to stop the ones who are bent on doing destruction.
It's not gonna stop the ones who's gonna do it.
61822, Mr. Reinhardt, when you're ready.
I put a pile in front of you, so I'll go through things real quick. So the first thing is building needs assessment. So you've got two pieces of paper. One is, we did this with the teachers at our January in-service. The questions that are on here are the questions we have to ask or answer as part of our building needs assessment that we'll go over with you as an entire board in probably May. This is what we use to help us decide what we're spending money on, what we're not spending money on, and those type of things. So we had the staff go through, they had time at our January in-service to think about it on their own. Then they met in small groups, and then they got a little bit different group, a little bit bigger group, until we worked up until they were in building level groups. So at the end of that conversation, the elementary teachers met together and the high school teachers met together and continued to add to the information. The district leadership team then took all that information, they turned into us anonymously and compiled it. So you can look through that and see some of the things they put on there. The other one is that blank form. I'd like to assign you a little bit of homework because you as a board also need to put input into that building needs assessment. Not that you necessarily need to have an answer for all of them, but I would like, if you would please, look through that. And if you have some thoughts on any of the questions, jot them down and give them to Susie. They will be anonymous also unless you want to put your name on it. And then we will compile those and add them to this list. And the district leadership team will sit down and put together the actual building needs assessment for the elementary and the high school. And then we'll present that information to you later in the school year. But if you would please take a couple minutes before the March meeting. If you have thoughts on some of the questions, jot your thoughts down and turn them into Susie, and we'll have her put them on the overall document. You also have in your pile the EPIC report. I apologize for the way it printed off. I could not figure out how to change that. So what you can't see underneath there, EPIC, is the percentage of our staff that answered it, and we are at 100%. So we gave this back in 2021, and then again, October of 23. This is our results up to that point. One difference between who did the survey in 2021 versus 2023. So in 2021, it was just our certified teachers that did the survey. In October, we had anybody that worked in a classroom with kids do the survey. So our paras, our classroom teachers, our adult aides, all participated in a survey. So that can kind of skew some of the information. I'm not real sure on some of the questions, whether it did or not, or which way it did skew things. Overall, we are above the state average on all but 3 of the areas. And when I talk about the areas, I'm talking about when we get to the graphs that are brown, gray, and blue. Okay, these are the questions that they answered. And to read those, it starts off to the right side of the graph. I would feel, and then follows underneath, comfortable referring a friend to teach at this school. So all but 3 of them, we are above the state average. We saw positive growth in all but 3, or all but 2, but there's a third one on here that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It looks like maybe we moved some things more in that neutral ground, but the question that says, I have opportunities for individual professional growth and development. The graph looks like in 2023, it actually grew on the positive side, but the number is lower than the 2021 number. So we don't know how to tell you which direction it was in comparison to 2021, whether it's a positive growth or a negative growth. In general, though, it's pretty similar to what 2021 was. Overall, and again, we haven't had a lot of time to look over this. This was just quick glances. They will have meetings throughout the spring for us to go and sit down and talk about these. This would be what Judy went to in Garden. Was it last year or the year before? I would like to do that again, get a group together and go down and actually have some conversations about this and see kind of where we're sitting on things. But overall, just a general view, pros or positives, growth, real good growth in admin feedback. We're doing a better job there. Real good growth in feelings of accomplishment, real good growth in expectations and understanding expectations, real good growth in overall satisfaction, and then growth in the right direction as far as desire to leave the district. So, right, compared to 2021, few of our staff have a desire to leave the district. On the concern side, just glancing over it real quick, that very first question, we saw a significant drop in the referral to the district. There's a drop in voice and opinion, which I don't understand that with between the PLCs and the board subcommittee and the opportunity teachers have to talk to you guys. And then overall engagement, you know, that one kind of threw me too, and that one goes back to
Bottom of the second page on the back side.
second page. Yeah, so that engagement index was a little concerning, but I think that's pretty general too. I think not just the education world, but society in general is rather disengaged at the moment. So we need to do some work on that side. But overall, pretty positive. Definitely moving things in the right direction. According to that survey, I think they're planning on doing it every 3 years. To see if overall we can change the feelings on education and grow retention and engagement in the workforce, the educational workforce. The next thing you have is a quick overview of the air quality report that you guys approved. I will start this with, we have not analyzed any of this information. So this is just a quick view of what the sensors told us on the elementary school.
Okay, because I was gonna say, what's going on in that second
Yes.
grade classroom?
Yeah.
But Rebecca, what's going on in that second grade classroom?
They're full of a lot of CO2, it looks like at times. But so again, I don't know analysis wise, they're still working on the true analysis, what that means. A couple of things that are a little concerning on the library on that front page. The very first graph is the radon. There were a couple spikes on that. Is that significant? Don't know. When we look at the CO2, so on these graphs where they were actually in the classroom, the blue is CO2, the green is humidity, and the red is temperature in that room. Okay, so the CO2 issues throughout, you can see spikes on all the classrooms we put a sensor in. That simply is telling us, if nothing else, there's a lack of air exchange, which we knew. We knew that was going to be a problem. Now we have some documented proof to say we've got to do something with the HVAC system in the elementary school. Now, there are some things that we can do within our current system to maybe adjust that a little bit. When that system was first put in place, it was set to not allow fresh air in if the fresh air was below 55 degrees. I'm guessing at the time that was to reduce energy costs, because if you're bringing in 55 degree or lower air, it's going to be harder to heat it, and it's going to cost you more to heat it. So that is one thing that they feel could easily be adjusted while we decide what we want to do with HVAC at the elementary school. Humidity is definitely an issue, something that we kind of expected. The biggest thing with humidity, there's a little bit of information on the back, especially during cold weather. Low humidity in the air can cause disease spread a lot easier. So something to think about there. And then temperature fluctuations, overall, there's not a a lot of large fluctuations, but you could definitely tell the difference between the sixth grade classroom that's on the north side of the building versus the classrooms that are on the south side of the building. And the fact that sixth grade classroom with 28 kids in it is quite a bit colder, even with all those warm bodies in it on those cold days. So, you know, and again, it gives us some legitimate information on conversations when we're looking at HVAC and the things we need to do there. One thing that has come out of the State Department, as we're looking and trying to find teachers, is a program called the Registered Teacher Apprenticeship. I'm not going to go through a whole lot of this, other than to tell you that basically what this allows us to do is any paras that we feel have the potential to be a good teacher, any high school kids as they graduate that are looking at maybe going in that direction and we feel would be a good teacher, we could hire as a registered teacher apprentice. It would be very similar to the para job that they're doing now. But what this program allows them to do is use some of that work-based experience to count towards their ability to get their bachelor's degree and move into their an actual classroom and run that classroom. Couple things within that. It requires whoever participates in the program to make a minimum of $14 an hour, which is a little bit higher than what we pay for our pairs now. And then there's coursework and those type of things. My understanding is KSDE, for qualifying candidates for this, has grant funds and other funds set aside to fund all of this. So if we have some quality paras, some quality seniors graduating that want to stick around, that maybe don't want to run off to Fort Hays or wherever else, but want to work for us, my understanding is the state will reimburse the school district the $14 an hour. They'll reimburse the kids up to a certain amount of their college courses. And the idea is to grow your own teachers. As far as participating schools, you've got several community colleges that are jumping on this. In our neck of the woods, Garden City and Barton, and then Fort Hays and Emporia State, and then several of the KCAC schools. The Western Governors is online school. You know, so there's several colleges that are looking at doing this and putting things in place to make it happen. And then as far as endorsements, you're thinking elementary, but there's actually a little bit more. So the early childhood, so preschool, I think that actually allows you to teach pre-K through third grade, your elementary unified, your special ed, and then at the high school level, foreign language and Spanish, business, math, special ed at the high school, and then HGSS would be your history, government, social studies. So it's kind of a neat opportunity. It may be a great way for us to keep a handful of local kids here that are interested and will be great teachers. I will tell you, I've got 3 or 4 in mind that we currently have as far as paras that are working for us that I think would be great. And it may allow us to keep them here. They'd make a little bit more money and be working towards moving into that classroom and you know, having an actual professional career in that. And all the while, they're getting hands-on experience to the process. They're getting to work with the teachers that are currently in the classroom, having a little bit more responsibility as far as what they do and what is expected of them. And when it comes to what they do as a para, you know, so I think it's a great opportunity that we're going to spend some more time looking at, but wanted to make you aware of that. And Tom brought up science curriculum. Correct me if I'm wrong. We had a short conversation with the elementary teachers and PLCs, and I think overall they decided they'd like to do science first versus social studies. So one thing that as part of KISA, as it changes, one of the big things that we're going to be doing next year is doing a realignment of all of our curriculum. So if you remember, for those of you that were on the board several years ago, we brought you an aligned math and aligned ELA curriculum to look through that was aligned to state standards, what we're going to teach in each class, what resources we're using, and those type of things. So next year, we're going to spend a lot of time going through the math and ELA, making sure it's still up to date, but then we need to do science, social studies, and then all of our 712 staff, like the CTE pathways, the PE classes, the music, will also have to align to their state standards also. That is going to be a big part of KISA. So along with that, we will also probably be doing a deep dive into science curriculum and really looking at what we want to do at 712 level, like what Tom was saying, but also how can we bring that science back into the elementary curriculum and make sure our teachers have the resources that they need to teach science from kindergarten through 6th grade, so that they're not just coming into 7th grade with, I'm not going to say nothing, because I think our elementary teachers do a good job of bringing some science in, but they do it with very limited, if any, resources. So that's going to be a big step next year as we look at that. And then the last thing I have to ask you is that time of the year where we're going to start having to look at facilities as far as the grounds. What are your guys' opinion on mowing and spraying? Are we good with continuing our contract with Schulte? Do you want me to post it in the paper and see if there's other bids out there? Do we need to move back to the staff doing it? And the same with spraying. Do we move forward with contract with Overlease, open it to others, move back to staff doing it?
We got set up here for full-time approval on 2 more custodians. I would think we might want to think about staff too.
I think our spraying has to stay with a professional, just because of how that got out of control, and we worked hard to try to get it back in, right, Mr. Gratian?
Yeah,
agree with that.
and I would agree with that. I would also say that Schulte did an excellent job mowing for us. Yes, hiring the 2 tonight gets us back up to full staff. This is not additional staff. We've been short staffed for probably 45, 60 days now. This gets us back up to full staff. We don't necessarily have the greatest track record of people staying around in the custodial field. And one of the reasons we went with Schulte was because we were not only struggling with the spraying, we were struggling with getting everything mowed and keeping things looking good too. So, and again, not necessarily looking for an overall, but come April, we're going to be mowing again. So I would say in March, we need to make a decision. So if we want more bids, I need to get that information out there so those bids can be available to us at March to look at. Or do we move forward with the product we had last year?
I think Jared did a really good job. I don't know if you can, I don't know if you could do a cost analysis of whether, I mean, what's our mowers like? I mean,
Well,
mowers are
that-
expensive to maintain.
That's one of the things that we're probably going to have to take a big look at. We've got the nice John Deere that still has plenty of life in it. But we're probably going to have to replace the grasshopper so we can continue to bag the 2 game fields, the football field and the softball field. That's all we mowed and took care of, was those 2. Jared did everything else. But you're looking at, I think that John Deere cost us $14,000 or $15,000, and I'm guessing now with the bagger and those type of things, you could be pushing $20,000 to buy a mower for us to use. And if we're doing things ourselves, if we're mowing everything ourselves, there's quite a bit of a cost associated with that too.
And you got
Just so we have
trimmers
equipment.
and all kinds of issues there. I would get bids on the spraying too. See if we can save some money, see what's out there.
Okay.
It wouldn't be hard just to put a thing in the paper to
And
let
that's what I
people,
do.
let people know that, hey, by X date, submit a bid.
Yep.
If there are, to look at it, if not. I think that's been a good decision, subbing it out.
Sounds good.
I will put the ad in the paper and get some quotes for you guys to consider in March.
Any final questions for Mr. Reinhardt? Board subcommittee.
Well, I can't remember all of it, Susie, so you might have to help me. But one of the topics that we discussed was the program, because it was that day. The speaker who came for the,
Child.
yes, what was it
Trafficking.
called? Domestic trafficking.
Mhm.
For those of you guys that weren't there, were you guys all there for the parent meeting? Anybody? It was pretty amazing. And domestic trafficking is kids having experiences online. And these people can find them and they trust them, even though they don't know them, and they can be manipulated in all sorts of ways. And at the parent meeting, he gave us several examples of people he knew that had this happen to them. And I think one of the things that was interesting was, and I might have the number wrong if either of you guys remember, but that since COVID, domestic trafficking has increased 19,999%.
It was, yeah, huge.
And that's something that we should be concerned about for our kids in the community. I was actually expecting one of you guys to talk about it tonight, but to cover it. But anyway, so that it was really good. And I think all parents should have been there. Should have been a requirement for all school board members too, but it was a lot of good information. And the teachers agreed with that. I think the lower level teachers, if you guys get a chance to give him a review, what would kindergarten through first? Was that the age or was it second?
It's K1, 2.
So K1, 2 thought it could be a little more severe because several of them,
I don't know about severe.
but a little
But,
more,
like, Their takeaways, when we talked to the kids afterwards, what's your takeaway? And they were like, he has a cute puppy. Like, I don't think they crossed the bridge from he was protecting his puppy, meaning
Right.
your parents are trying to protect you when they put rules in place for technology. Like, I'm not sure all of the kids made that connection. But on the other hand, we had a number of students who came and told us they had cockroaches in their lives and talked to us. So there were some that got it. So it did get a message across, but
yeah, we had one teacher that said she had 4 kids come to her after that. And that was, if you weren't at any of the student stuff, they talked about cockroaches in your life. And that way kids aren't as scared to talk about cockroaches. So,
but that was, yeah, if
Yeah,
something
the
was
word.
bugging you, it was the cockroach. It
Yeah.
gave them a way to bring it up without having to feel too comfortable.
so the teachers that were there were very appreciative of that. That was the only thing, was that the K through 2 was a little, it could have been more help that
Direct,
connection.
isn't it?
Yeah. Did your son have anything to say about it or? Okay. The other thing that they talked about was, hold on, let me look. Oh yeah, the nurse. We asked them, how's it going with the nurse? And one of the responses surprised me, and it's kind of exciting, was that she has reduced the, what'd you say, absenteeism from class? Like, oh, I'm sick, I need to go home. Well, let me see what you just did in the toilet. Oh, well, I flushed it. Next time you do it, let me see it, and then we'll talk about you going home. And so it's reduced that. Has it?
Absolutely, 100%.
So they said it's nice because they don't have to be the bad person.
Well, my kids know if they ask to go, if they're sick, they're seeing the nurse and they're getting an actual diagnosis. It's not I get to say I don't feel well and go home kind of thing. So
Okay.
it brings some of that back on them.
Okay. So they liked that. And then another thing was cell phones. They were talking about just enforce the policy that we have and not understanding why it's not being enforced. Just do it. So, we have a policy, so all teachers, it's not really an option for them. So, because the school board has said this is the policy, right?
Mhm.
So,
And I think they talked about different classroom teachers enforcing it differently
Yeah.
than others.
So it needs to be enforced
not
across the
being a challenge.
board, every classroom. You know, if we want to go, we know one of the standard ones is Miss Burnbeck, right? She enforces it. So if we want to go with the way she does it, then across the board, all teachers have the Burnbeck policy, right? I mean, and let's do that because she's following this, the school board policy. So that was there anything else?
Separating junior. high from high
Yeah,
school.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
That was
yeah.
really
Yeah.
the big thing we talked
So you
about.
talk about that one.
I don't even know how it
Okay.
got brought up,
Well, because they had talked to me about it before you two
Okay.
showed up.
because I was gonna say, I got there after that
I
conversation.
walked in,
already
I walked
started.
in. when
Oh,
we were
okay,
in
so
the
then
middle of
that's
that as
me.
well.
So it's me, okay. Highly recommend bringing 7th and 8th back over to junior high. The only one against that was, was Jason. The teachers would like it, and there was even some discussion about how they could cover some of those classes. I don't know, because it's the same curriculum, right? That
How many
they're
7th
learning
through
that
12
curriculum.
are
How many?
How many?
None, because they don't come to the meetings. So
Well, who's supposed to be there? From
all
us?
teachers, any
Yeah,
teachers,
It goes out to everybody.
yeah. So,
But I think from the very first meeting, there's maybe 1 or 2 high school staff, and they've all kind of just fallen off.
mhm.
Like maybe Grant was one of them. And of course
I
he's
don't
not.
think the day we had the meeting was maybe necessarily the best day to have the meeting, because there were ball games going on here,
Yeah.
and there were other things going on, so I mean,
Could've
I
been
think
that
when we
too.
picked that day, it was fine, but then with ball game cancellations and things being moved around, I don't think the day we had that meeting probably ended up being really a good day to have that meeting, so. Some of them were there and had to leave, and it was a lot of in and out. I wasn't there at the very beginning of it, so I don't think that that day ended up being the best day to choose to have that.
Maybe before that, there were a couple high school.
Yeah, there's been high
That
school,
something?
there's
Oh.
been high school staff there before. Yeah, I think this was the first time there wasn't any high school
Okay.
teachers. There was high school staff there. There just weren't any teachers.
So, and that was the discussion, was just about moving junior high back over, but. And I
And I
don't
don't know
remember,
that
what-
it's necessarily moving. I mean, if that's the best way to do it, but more separation between junior high and high school than what we're currently able to do.
anything else, Susan, on that?
On the school principal.
Oh, yeah.
We did
elementary
question, yeah, we did ask them
elementary school principal.
their thoughts on a grade school principal. And it was overwhelmingly supportive towards,
And then
having a-
overwhelmingly, it could not be a
A
lead
current
teacher,
Oh,
or
yeah.
a current teacher. It needs to be somebody specifically dedicated to being grade school principal, and that's all their duties entail is that.
He said communication was good,
Mhm.
still. You guys let them know when you're gonna be gone. And then the alert system.
Oh, yeah, we talked about the
No, we've had any answers on that.
alert. I reached out to Travis Rosie about it, but I didn't really get. The answer was very vague. I don't know how else to describe it.
Can we go back to the old system for the school or no?
I don't know about the old system, but there are a lot of systems out there. The Power School has their own system, and there's several others that work directly with Power School. So as you enroll, your information can roll right into that system, which makes it really easy. Right now, it costs us nothing because the county commissioners
Right.
pay for it. I have reached out to a couple of companies to get information on cost because Susie and I are very frustrated with it. But I have not received backing information on what those costs are.
And I will say that what Travis said was that I think he's been frustrated with it as well because it's not functioning like it's supposed to. But as far as an explanation as to why, he didn't really have one.
Okay, anything, questions? Let's go on 7.1.
Quick update. So we got three applications, 3 companies applied for the facility study, DCS Hutton and Weems, which are the three I kind of expected. I didn't know if we'd get anybody else. That subcommittee is meeting next Tuesday, the 20th at 5 o'clock, to go through those applications and develop a recommendation for the board as a whole. A couple questions I have for you two specifically. On that date, do you want to be able to interview all three? Like if we do a phone call or a Zoom, or if they wanted to send someone out? Or is that not something you're worried about?
What's the name of the three companies again? Weens?
Weens, which is out of Hutch,
Yeah.
Hutton, which is a very large company. They've got a office out of Dodge, I think.
Either Dodger.
Awesome.
Dodger
Person,
Garden.
right?
One of the car-
Huh?
McPherson too.
Yeah, like they've got offices all over the state of Kansas and outside of the state. It's a huge company. Hutton is the one that the person that we will be primarily working with is married to
Amy Walker.
Amy Walker. So there is a tie there to the community, and then DCS is that is the group that managed the project at the high school.
Well, in answer to that, I'd go with your recommendation. It wouldn't matter to me that much whether it just went from the information they sent as opposed to having somebody to talk to.
Well, the other thing I can do is I can reach out to all three and say, this is when we're meeting. Is there a phone number I can call if we have a question?
Well,
For-
yeah,
for you
I would think
particular,
so.
just do it that way. Okay.
That sounds fine.
Okay.
Good, Tom.
The other question that I have, do you want me to go through and compile, just general information? So you've got a one sheet comparison of the three, whether what their costs are, how big they are, what they do, what their primaries are, those type of things, or do you want to do that as part of your meeting?
Much reading's involved here.
All three of them have sent us a box that's about this tall. Now, like, there's supposed to be seven or eight pamphlets in there. But they will have, they'll have letters of recommendation. They'll have pictures of different things they've done, companies they've worked for, their costs, their fees involved, and those type of things.
Well, we'd want to look through, scan all those things, but if you got the time to put a overview, that would be helpful too.
Okay, and then question for the whole board. Do you want to wait until the March meeting, since it is a week early because of spring break, to approve one of these companies? Or do you want to have a special meeting and do it then? That way, if you do have questions or want to spend more time looking at it, other than just taking the recommendation from the subcommittee, we can do that. What is your desire there?
And my desire is just to have one meeting a month. What's needed?
With these three companies, I'd like to know if they've worked at any schools close by. Like they did some of the work in Hodgman County, Trigo, La Crosse, Dighton.
Yep, and I can put all that information together.
So I'd like to talk to one of those people from that area maybe and see if I can gather what their feelings were.
Okay. You just want to do it at the March meeting, or you want to do?
I think the board likes a few meetings just like me, but if you think we need to get it done earlier, that's why I need it.
It does not matter to me.
Oh, well, then that makes it easy.
I think if because the March meeting is the 8th, you're technically only gonna have, what, 2 weeks from the 20th, the subcommittee making a decision on the 20th. I think there's just 2 weeks between the 20th and the March
So
meeting.
we won't lose very much time in
Yeah.
between, so
Yeah.
yeah, that would be fine with me then.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions before we move on? 7.2,
I shared 7 policy updates for you. Last month, my recommendation, the 3 that are listed there would be, my recommendation would be to approve those changes and then leave the other 4 alone. For kind of the reasons we talked about last month, with some of the wording in it, and how it could definitely be misconstrued. And then on the health side, the Mrs. Gantz gave us updated policies last year that we like better than what KSAB is recommending. So I would recommend the 3 that are on there, the EE, GARIA, and GARID policy updates.
any questions on the policy updates, or would there be a motion?
I'd recommend motion to approve as recommended by the superintendent.
A motion second, all those in favor? 8.1 for the principal contract. Were there any need for executive session, or do we have a motion?
I'd motion to approve contract for 24-25.
Second,
Have motion second, any other comments? All those in favor? Negotiations.
10 minutes.
Recommend to go into exec for 10 minutes.
Second.
Second, first, second, all those in favor? Ready to go on to personnel executive session?
Let's try 10.
Make a motion for 10 minutes personnel.
Second,
Yep.
Move for another 10 minutes.
Second.
You're sort of stretching this meeting out. Sort of losing your.
I'm losing my touch, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
the new system, I can scan stuff in and attach it to the, like, on my vendor that I have that paperwork on and all the paperwork's in there. I've been working on it little by little, and just had a little bit more left. I was like, I'm gonna get it done. I mean, the folder I had it was this thick. So that's a lot right there. So I really like that it's all in the system now. I don't have to take that folder. It'll be very nice. It's in 70. I was like, that's actually 70 or it's. Or am I see like. here, they could stay in there and talk. Yeah.
Should we find something else to talk about?
Make a motion, we go back in for 5 more minutes.
Second.
I thought you guys were done. I can't. I didn't hear the 5 more minutes.
They care about my vote. I didn't think that much minutes.
There's not, there's only just hiring, that's it. So we should be done. afterwards.
Russell go.
Everybody's had city.
On personnel items, have listing there to approve ESL para contract to Alejandro Gomez. There'll be a motion on that.
I make a motion to approve ESL para contract to Alexandra Gomez.
Second,
Second from Judy first, all in favor.
Got it.
From B, we have approved assistant softball coach.
I would move to hire Wes Tellison as the assistant coach.
I'd second it.
Have a motion and second, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by your hand. All those opposed? And motion fail. C and D for custodial contracts. Any comments?
They both appear to be very good. Paperwork's in place. I think it'll be a good addition to custodial staff and get us back up to fully staffed for them.
I move to approve.
Motion
C
from
and D.
Lori,
Second.
second from Judy, all those in favor? For you, is there any other business? I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Very good.